Philippe Cloutier.
Yep.
Phil,
Yep.
nice to see you here in Vancouver.
Thank you.
So before we talk about your drill program right now, it's 100,000 meters, which is considered, I would say, the biggest or one of the biggest here in Canada right now. Give us a very quick rundown of your project, Cadillac.
All right. So the Cadillac project is basically two projects that we merged in 2022. Our project, Cartier, a historic past-producing gold mine, the Chimo gold mine, and O3 Mining that had the surrounding area.
Okay.
So there's about 100 years of exploration. Unfortunately, there were a lot of property boundaries. Agnico came in 2016 as a strategic shareholder, and when they bought O3 Mining in 2024, that share position rose to 27%. But they are a strategic shareholder, a great partner to have, and now we've lined up 100,000 meters on this project, which is called the Cadillac project, because it straddles the Cadillac Fault over about 15 kilometers. And I don't think I need to introduce the Cadillac Fault. It is home to hundreds of mines, over 100 million ounces of gold production over the last 100 years. And we have a stake of about 15 kilometers along that fault.
Okay. How long have you personally been in this area?
I've been in this area for over 20 or 30 years now.
Okay, so you're familiar at
I
this
know
point.
the lay of the land in Abitibi. Yeah.
What are you chasing with this campaign, your 100,000?
A mining camp. Let me explain. When you find a mine, you start mining. 10 years down the line, you find another one. Another decade later, another one. And then after 50 years, you say, well, look at that. We've got a cluster of mines. And then that defines a mining camp. Now, had the engineers known that before they started mining, they probably would have organized the infrastructure differently. So our ambition here is to demonstrate that we're dealing with a mining camp around the past producing Chimo gold mine, and therefore make better decisions going forward if we have to develop this, right? Makes no sense in finding the mother lode 5 kilometers east of what we've currently built the resources on. And so we're trying to establish the center of gravity of these cluster of what we believe are going to be several mines in that area.
Okay. Well, you've recently awarded mandates for engineering and environmental baseline studies.
Yep.
Speaking about making sure you make the right decisions here as you go, why are these studies a critical pillar for your valuation this year?
Two. The metallurgy is a critical pillar because in our previous PEA, we went for building our own mill. Well, there's 5 other mills along the highway owned by 4 senior producers. So this metallurgical study is twofold. One, to see the better recoveries that we're able to get from the mineralization, and two, make sure that we could entertain the possibility of doing toll milling should we want to develop this ourselves. Mm-hmm. And the environmental baseline studies, well, that's a foregone conclusion. I think everybody knows that this project is eventually going to be developed, and we jump-started that process because it just needs to get done.
You updated the market with a resource estimate in December 2025.
Yep.
Give us a few highlights there.
Yep.
And I also know your PEA is coming up as well, right?
Yep.
Give us a bit of update on how you expect your updated PEA to kind of change your look here at the project.
Well, we went from the number 4 resource estimate, which had 2.3, to this most recent, which has 3.2 million ounces. We've also asked the consultants or the engineers to map out an exploration target of an additional 1.1. So, and none of the recent drilling has been included. Now, the metallurgical study, this new resource, 3.2 resource base, is going to be crucial and instrumental in mapping the economic viability of this thing going forward. So expect our updated PEA in the next quarters. And then while we're drilling, we're working on engineering, we're working on the metallurgical and the engineering studies. Listen, a lot of news flow for a junior that is a 30-minute drive out of the Val-d'Or mining camp.
I won't spend too much time on my next question. You mentioned Agnico Eagle is a significant shareholder. They're one of the top companies in Canada, of course, the world for gold production. Mm-hmm. How much of your exploration, how much of your kind of day-to-day engineering strategies is impacted by this partner?
I wouldn't say it's impacted, but it's validated. We have technical meetings with them at least minimally every quarter. They share their ideas and how they would do it. Obviously, a senior mining company has a vision of how they would develop it versus a junior of how they have to mine and manage it. And so I have to manage expectations of our shareholders of what we can do, what we can reasonably manage it from a junior explorer's perspective, while being very considerate of the, I would call it, free consulting that they offer us and saying, well, Phil, we would do it this way. So, two different worlds. A senior producer, and they're a superb corporate citizen in Val-d'Or, and we aim to be like that as well.
Now, before you go, Phil, you're in a sea of junior miners here, literally, here at this venue. What is one thing that you want investors to look out for in the next year or throughout 2026? Of course, the PEA is coming up, but something else other than that you can share today.
I want them to really understand what the prize that's envisioned here, a mining camp, something that's multi-generational. We're gunning for 10 to 15 million ounces. So it's a long-lived system, and we're banking on something that has seen gold production in the 60s, 80s, and 90s. And when the Chimo gold mine ceased production, obviously it wasn't for lack of ore, because now we're back up to 3.2 million ounces. It was because it was shut down in 1997, right? Because the price of gold was 400. Now the price of gold is clocking at 5,000. There's a lot of wiggle room for success. I want them to understand that Cartier Resources is about finding gold, finding the next gold camp in the Abitibi. Mm-hmm. That's what I want them to understand.
Okay, well, I think I should do some more homework. So you got one to add to your list here. Thank you so much.